Howdy, folks. I think that's going to be my new catchphrase. Not just in YouTube, but in life. I am about to become a mom, and I think I finally have a game plan for how I'm going to parent this little human. And it's not how I previously thought. Because a lot of what I see on social media, the moms that I like to follow, are the Montessori moms. And there's a lot to love about Montessori. Some key characteristics of the Montessori parenting / teaching style, if you're not familiar, are prepared environment, freedom of choice and movement, respect and communication for and with the child, and a lot of mixed ages. The way that this style is presented online, at least from what I've seen, involves things like toy rotation in the playroom, sensory activities, and sort of mini simulations of the adult world, like tiny but fully functional kitchens that like kids can use and make their own snacks, etc., etc. And if you think about these activities, they are incredibly time consuming for the primary caregiver. I mean, planning and setting up these crafts or the sensory activities or rotating the toys. And I think this is the stereotypical model of a stay-at-home mom, a woman who builds her entire day around child-centric activities. I think having this be the quintessential model for what a stay-at-home mom looks like can be a big turnoff for a lot of women, because a lot of what I hear, at least thrown around on social media from younger women on why they don't want to have children, is because they want to accomplish things first. They're on a career path that they don't want to interrupt. They want to travel, or they don't think they have the right temperament for it, which is really funny because all the personality tests I take say that I'm a highly disagreeable woman, which you wouldn't think was good for childcare. And all of these things make sense according to the stereotypical model of a stay-at-home mom. Our knee-jerk reaction is maximal interference. Parents have taken on all these extra obligations because someone has convinced us that they are essential for optimizing a child. That's from anthropologist David Lancy. And up until my second trimester, this is what I thought my parenting style, my life as a mom, was going to look like, and I wasn't mad about it. I know that I'm going to enjoy spending most of my time with my children, and I know that they're going to be my priority. But I previously thought that other things that I enjoyed doing, like sewing, for example, would only be able to happen during nap time. Essentially that my life was over and my child's life was now my life. I assumed that my days would be built around the child, activities for the child, and things that I previously liked to do during my day, I would have to wake up earlier for, or as I mentioned, fit them in while the kid is napping. And things like travel. I've traveled my entire life. I've been to over 60 countries or something, and there's this idea that you can't go anywhere when you have kids. And I don't think that any of this is true. I don't think any of this is true anymore. And if I'm right, motherhood needs a serious rebrand. And that's what I want to talk about today. So the two women that I will be referencing in this video are Micheline Duclef. She is the author of a book I just finished reading called Hunt, Gather, Parent. She and her toddler went to live with hunter-gatherer communities in Nunavut, Canada, Tanzania, Africa, a Mayan village in the Yucatan, Mexico. And she found that the commonalities between these cultures in terms of parenting style were abundant. And it's the Western world that's parenting differently. And she also interviews and references a lot of other anthropologists who have done similar experiments, or what would you say, have had similar experiences living and observing parenting styles in indigenous or Inuit or hunter-gatherer communities around the world. And a lot of them only solidified her finding that there are more commonalities in those communities than in the Western world. We'll get into what she discovered as it pertains to this video, so how the mother's life is structured and affected by having children. But I highly recommend it if you're interested in learning how they handle other situations, like their specific parenting technique, how they handle tantrums or how they approach sleeping, etc., because it's super interesting. The second woman that I'll be referencing is Jen Fulwiler from a podcast that she appeared on hosted by Michaela Peterson. So Fulwiler is a 3-time author. She's a stand-up comedian, and she has 6 kids. She has 6 children in 8 years, no twins. So she had a lot of interesting things to say on this topic that I want to relay to you. Okay, the first brick to hit me over the head was that there is no historic precedent for mothers being the primary entertainers of their children. Women's lives, while they were spent at home, were incredibly busy. They were raising, slaughtering, and cooking animals. They were washing, mending, and sewing clothing. I mean, only half the homes in America had electricity in the 1920s. That's 3 or 4 generations ago only. They also had a ton of help. Duclef references allo parents, which are a group of people that swarm new mothers and they become not primary, but significant caregivers throughout this child's young life. And in the hunter-gatherer communities, it's not necessarily like the whole village. It's maybe 4 or 5 people who take on this responsibility. Maybe it's a neighbor who also has children, a grandparent, or even older siblings. Duclef quotes a Hadzabe mom, Subiam. She says, "At the end of the day, you're responsible for your own children, but you must love all the other children as your own." And I deeply love this sentiment. I mean, the idea of bringing a child into this world that you are solely responsible for, obviously you have a partner, but if they work away from home during the day, I mean, that just sounds so intimidating. But if you have people that you can go through life with who are going through similar experiences, or people who have experience that you can call upon, that sounds like an adventure. Something else Duclef said that was really funny was, you're worried about getting sick of your child, but have you ever considered that your child is going to get sick of you? And no, I hadn't considered that. Children have evolved to socialize and bond with more than one person, more than one type of person, more than one age. And both women do touch upon how Western societal structures make it very difficult for women to get help these days, like a nanny, for example. Jen Fulwiler even, excuse me, I have hair on my face. Jen Fulwiler even downsized her home so that she could afford a nanny. And I think this is the route that my husband and I are going to go down, the not upgrading our life part. I still don't know how I feel about having a nanny just because it's such a foreign thing to me. The idea kind of, I don't know, makes me uncomfortable, but I'll probably be singing a different tune a few kids down the line. At least for this one, I plan on the team parenting approach, which Duclef coined. And to explain it, if you think of parenting as being on a micro and macro scale, so the macro is everything you want your child to do that day, and the micro scale is how you want them to approach each activity that's planned for the day. Then you can kind of categorize some parenting styles along this scale. So laissez-faire parenting might be no structure for the macro, no structure for the micro. And honestly, this was my upbringing. And the Montessori style that I described at the beginning of the video is more like structured macro, structured micro, and maybe even further along on this path would be something like helicopter parenting, which I have seen firsthand. Yikes. So the team parenting approach is structured macro and an unstructured micro. But the structured macro is based on the parent's activities. So it's a parent-centric schedule, and the child can participate in those activities how they see fit. So if I'm going about my routine, that might be cooking breakfast, for example, the child can join me and help cook or help clean, or they can go off and do their own activity, play with their siblings or by themselves. So essentially, I keep my routine. I build in the unavoidable things that children need. So when they're younger, that's just being aware of the fact that I have to feed throughout the day. When they're older, maybe that is school drop-off or taking them to a sporting event. And while I'm going through my day, the child can choose to participate in my world or go off and play in their own. So if I'm cooking, they can cook with me. If I'm cleaning, they can clean with me. If I'm sewing, I can give them a safe and easy version of that to participate or do something next to me that they're passionate about. Hunter-gatherer parents don't set up activities that simulate the real world. They just bring the child into the real world. And there's detailed ways to do this in the book that I won't get into, but if that sounds like more your speed, then check it out and check back here in a few years. I will let you know if this actually worked out. Jen Fulweiler got her children involved in her career instead of giving it up, which I find so admirable. So that's the benefit of this form of parenting. Women don't have to give up their passions when they become mothers. And I think it's really good for kids to see this model that adults do adult work, and you're modeling autonomy, discipline, adopting responsibility, the joy that comes from progressing in a chosen craft. I think the key is to give focused attention to your children when you're with them, in the same way you give focused attention to your passions when you're with them, and letting your children know that they're still your priority. I think this will prevent you from being the I'm with you, but I'm not really here kind of mom, sort of disconnected because you're just drained. You have no energy to really be focused. And you get to build a true, genuine connection with your child. So I think this would erase the whole I could have been somebody trope of resentful parents. And if you reframe your thinking from I feel like a bad mom for not being with my children to I have to do this so that I'm a good mom when I'm with my children, then there's no need for mom guilt. And Fulweiler says that this only works when you bring the entire family into it. As I mentioned, you're bringing your kids, you're allowing them into your world. And it protects your husband from falling into that I have to work this job that I hate situation when you partner with him, bring him into this style of parenting and find ways, maybe to downgrade your lifestyle so that he can work a job that he's happier in, but maybe it pays less, or you can afford allo parents if you don't have friends and family in your vicinity, like around, if you're not near friends and family. Oh, did you hear that bird? So with all of their ideas relayed to you, I want to clumsily lay out how I'm going to approach parenting, some of the main aspects of parenting. And of course, it's easy to say you're going to, parent one way, no screen time when you don't have kids. But I think I'm in a unique position to document how I think it's going to go, what I plan on doing before I'm a mom, and then watching my plan either unfold like or close to how I think it will, or completely veer in the other direction. I won't be doing scheduled feedings. Babies can't tell time anyway, so I don't understand trying to force a sort of schedule on them. And I'll probably have her with me the early stages of her life, so I'll just go about my routine as normal, and when she shows hunger cues, I'll feed her. If I want to go off and do something without her, I will leave her with an allo parent, and they can give her a bottle of either breast milk or formula. My mom couldn't breastfeed, and so I and both of my siblings are products of formula. I have no qualms with formula. She just learned our hunger cues, and when we got older, we ate what she ate. She would always say, "I'm not a short order cook," and I think I'm going to follow this example. I do remember her shooing us away to play while she was cooking or cleaning, and I think I'm going to approach it more like the hunter-gatherer moms and allow the child to participate in these activities with me. And I also remember she was one of those moms where you had to finish everything on your plate, and I don't see myself being like that. either. I also won't control their sleep, which freaks me out. I don't think I'm going to be any good at this at first, but Duclef lays out how the hunter-gatherer mothers approach this method in her book. And basically they teach the child their sleep cues, and they harness the child's desire to be a big girl and big boy to get them to put themselves to sleep. So we'll give that a whirl. I will take full advantage of allo parents. If my mom wants to see the grandkids, great, take them. Take them sailing for a week. Allegedly, my mom left me with my grandma for an entire weekend, 7 days after I was born, so that she could go to a Jimmy Buffett concert with my dad. Also, I was named after a Jimmy Buffett song. We also had 2 babysitters who would care for us, but I never realized that they would even sleep over sometimes if my parents were working or traveling. My parents used to go on sail trips before we were old enough to join and leave us. I don't even remember who they left us with, probably my grandma. But the point is, I don't remember them being as absent as it sounds like they were with all of these trips that they went on. You know, they were just they still lived their lives. And I think a big part of that is because they didn't let us impede on the lives that they wanted. And so they were really genuinely excited to see us and be with us when they were with us. And that's what I remember. As far as parenting techniques that don't fall under this video topic, which is my lifestyle as a mother, I will be approaching those as closely as I can to the hunter-gatherer mothers that Duclef lays out in her book. So that's things like handling tantrums, for example. If you're interested in that, again, check out that book. So I'd love to build a community of young families who trade time caring for children and doing things like picking up from school, etc. And I definitely want to involve siblings in each other's care and let them be the primary entertainers and even teachers to each other. We'll travel, go hiking, work out, eat out, all the things that we love to do now. We'll just incorporate the children or entrust them to an allo parent. I don't want this to sound too laissez-faire because my personality is a productive one. My husband and I, we like to stay busy, we wake up really early, and we're always working on projects that we're passionate about. So I plan on keeping this macro and then incorporating, adapting to the micro part when baby B gets here. And that's the plan. Again, I don't think that the hunter-gatherer approach is the only right way. It's just the one that resonates with me, and they're the closest we have to an older way of life, so how we've even evolved as humans, which I think accounts for a lot. So I'll be giving it a go. Subscribe and follow along if you want to see this ship swim or completely blow up in my face. Thanks for listening. If you have anything you want to add, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please drop them in the comment section below, any questions, etc. Of course, you can also DM me over on Instagram at mrs.ballmox. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.